Hey, shalom to the hopeful elect. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem al-Chakudash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone who teach the truth and rule well. This is Brother Yatapia Wa'ala coming back from the GMS SF Bay Area camp. And I'm just doing a quick in-transit, all right? A little response from the Apostle Tahar's video, all right, going into this Russian drone attack, all right? Just showing us that, we're that much closer to World War III, all right? Tensions are getting hot and heated all over the world, all right? And this is what to expect, all right? This is what to expect being at the end, all right? Now, I'm going to read a little bit of it and grab a couple precepts. It says, on May 29th, which is today, a Russian drone struck an apartment building in the Romanian city of Galati, if I'm saying that right. It says, injuring 2 people and sparking a fire. NATO and EU officials condemned the reckless incursion, affirming their commitment to defend alliance territory. Right? Now, I'm going to read a little bit of it. Just a little overview. It says the strike occurred during an overnight Russian attack on Ukrainian ports alongside the Danube River. So you got to understand, Russia and Ukraine are still going at it, right? It says impact site, an explosive-laden Shahed 136 Geran 2 drone hit the roof of a 10-story residential complex in Galati, a major port city near the Ukrainian border. A 53-year-old woman and a 14-year-old boy were hospitalized with minor burns and abrasions. 2 others were treated for panic attacks. Approximately 70 residents were evacuated as the drone's entire payload detonated, causing a fire on the 10th floor. The incident marks the first time a Russian drone has caused injuries and urban damage within NATO territory since the 2022 invasion. Scrambled jets. Romanian deployed 2 F-16 fighter jets and a military helicopter to monitor the attack. Officials noted the drone was only tracked for 4 minutes before impact, providing little time for interception. Romanian President Nicolae Sardan ordered the closure of the Russian consulate in Constanta and expelled the consul general. The NATO stance Security General Mark Rutte stated that the alliance is ready to defend every inch of its territory. The Russian response, President Vladimir Putin denied responsibility, suggesting the drone's origin was unconfirmed. Meanwhile, Secretary Council official Dmitry Medvedev warned that European peaceful sleep is over. All right, and it sounds like fighting words, right? Now, hey, this is the times we're in, right? This is prophecy speaking. And, we'll see what happens. Like Apostle Tahar said, we'll see what happens. All right, if this escalates. But things are already escalating all over the world, right? I'm going to start with this. This is Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. What are the visions? These prophecies, okay? Now, there's a set time the Lord is going to allow World War III to pop off. But before that, I'm going to get it. There's going to be wars and rumors of war all over the world, right? Well, what do you have going on right now? You still have, the reason this whole thing happened, partly, right? Russia and Ukraine. Over there, you still got Israel, Iran, America, Iran, right? The Strait of Hormuz, Israel, Gaza, okay? A lot of those Middle Eastern countries involved. You got things, the whole China-Taiwan border or China-India border, all right? You got things escalating all over the world. You got the things that happened over there in Venezuela, right? It says, so again, the main war, all right, the war to end all wars, so to speak, all right, is for an appointed time, but we see we're heading into that time. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. So the Lord is not a man that he shall lie. All right, when he says things are going to happen, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Now, we're very closely approaching the end of the end, right? Like the Apostle Tahar said, we just got a couple more prophecies that really need to pop off. And then that's it, right? A main one, the MOTB. Now that we know the MOTB has to be implemented before this World War III goes fully, in gear, right? But, hey, that could be a step away. All it takes is, they've been going into it, these polycrises to set off. They keep talking about Ebola, right? They talking about the hantavirus, Amongst other things, they talk about the attacks, so-called hacking attacks on the electrical grid. All right. These famines. Well, again, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. So that's still causing, a buildup of what we're going to see later on in the summer. And all it takes is one little thing to shut shit down, and they can really implement the MOTB, right? But again, things like this show us that we're close. And like the official, what did he say? He said, hey, the sleep in Europe is over, the peaceful sleep, right? Hey, it's time to get active. Let me jump over here. Revelation. Well, before I get that, I believe it's in Matthew. Let me see. Bear with me. Yeah, this is it, right? I'll start at verse 3. It says, Matthew 24:3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, right? And, as he goes into 2nd Ezra, I believe it's the 9th chapter, right? It talks about the endings having effects and signs. There's certain signs, effects, prophecies that would be speaking that the Lord shows us we're at the end. And what does the end of the world mean? It means the end of an age, right? Ion, the Greek word ion or eon. And what age is it? The age of the heathen rulership, primarily the age of Esau ruling, okay? It says, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, take no heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, and shall deceive many. Which you got a lot of false prophets, right? You got a lot of these false prophets. Hey, the main false prophet, all right, being the Catholic Church, Christianity as a whole, all right. You got even the false prophets amongst our people who are basically rocking the people back to sleep. All right, feeding our people smooth words, all right, the blind leaders of the blind. But hey, that's all set up by design, as you see. Verse 6, this is the point. It says, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. So these are wars and rumors of wars. They're going on right now, right? And, you got a lot of people that like to say, well, there's always wars going on. Yes, you're right. But these wars are significant, especially in that Middle Eastern region. And I'm going to get it. Because that main war, all right, is going to pop off in the Middle East. And really significant is these Russians, all right, Gog and Magog, right? The Lord steering up the Medes, all right? Who's the modern day Medes? These Russians, because they're going to have a big part in destroying America. And they got to get it popping, right? It says, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So we're in the midst of these, right? We're in the midst of these beginning of sorrows. And it's only increasing, right? There's going to be more famines. There's going to be pestilences. Again, they're talking about that Strait of Hormuz and the whole fertilizer, the energy crisis hitting in this summer, right? It might not fully even be hitting until this next year if the Lord allows this place to go on. But hey, it's gonna be real bad, right? The earthquakes are increasing in magnitude. But hey, you have these kingdoms against each other. You have these wars and rumors of wars all over the place. But these are the beginning of sorrows, right? Now let me jump over here. Now, what's coming quick? This Third World War, and this is an example, right? A clue, if you will, a sign that things are heating up. Revelation 11 and 13, 14. Yep, it says Revelation 11:14, the second woe is past, which the second woe was the World War II. It says, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. The third woe is talking about World War III. And we know who's going to be in these main players in World War III. You're going to have America. You're going to have Israel. All right, like the scriptures say, the least of the flock shall draw them in, roughly paraphrasing, talking about those Israelis bringing in America. Because, who runs America, right? Those small hats. They're going to bring America into this war. And they already brought them in. Look at America and Israel banding together against Iran. right? Now you're going to have Russia, you're going to have China. All the main players are going to be in this third world war. So when we see things like this lets us know, hey, things are getting heated. And, you know, NATO is part of what? America's allies. All right? So you're going to see a little skirmishes at first. But ultimately, what does the scripture say? All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her. Shoot at who? Babylon. Babylon the Great. America. So everyone who has nuclear capabilities, even those that are so-called allies to America, all right, that's NATO and EU, they're going to be shooting against America. Okay? And thus saith the Al-Bashim al-Shai. So we're going to see how that plays out. You know, Trump's that big bad, you know, that big bad, you know, bully, trying to bully even his own allies. So, you know, it only makes sense that something's going to happen to where all these nations are going to be against America. All right? But let me grab this and probably end off on this. This is Joel 3. And verse 9. All right? Because this is the war to end all wars. This is Joel 3 and 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Right? And you see these nations are on heightened mode, right? They're getting ready. They know what's going to go down, right? It says, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And, you know, a lot of these nations, Iran in particular, that's an ancient mighty nation, right? The Persians. And then you're going to have these newer mighty nations, Russia being one of them. They're all going to come and gather together and fight in that war. It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And what does that mean? That means they're converting all their money, you know, whatever it's been used for before. They're going to be converting the majority of it to what? War, right? You have military budgets, okay? And instead of focusing on whatever else they were focusing on in the past, they're getting ready for war. All these nations are building up their armies. They're building up they're buying fighter jets. They're buying missile defenses, you know, missile defense systems. They're buying missiles, right? They're buying tanks. They're building tanks. They're building missiles. So they're all getting ready for this World War III. It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together around about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. And now this is where it's truly going to get popped off, right? So you see it going on a little bit in these European nations, right? But eventually all those armies are going to gather in the Middle East. That's where World War III is going to truly pop off. It says, come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get ye down, for the presses is full, and fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And the Lord is going to judge all these nations' armies in that Middle Eastern region. It says, multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. All right? And again, this is what's coming. All right? This World War III. And there, the Lord is going to judge these armies. Okay? And that's it. And what happens when your armies go down? You go down. You ain't going to have anything to, you know, to back you up. And the little armies you have back home, if any, hey, it's going to be short work. And this is when Yahushua is going to return. Okay? So, again, this is beautiful times, beautiful things, you know, beautiful headlines that we're seeing. All right? Just to let us know that we're that much closer to the end. Right? End time prophecy is speaking. And hey, it's not too much longer till Yahushua, all right, Yahushua makes his return. But hey, Lord's will, this was edifying. Once again, I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect, and Abba Baba.